Hey guys, and welcome back to another Super Metal Brothers review. I am Super Metal Brother Matt.
And I'm Super Metal Brother Dane.
And this week we are talking Lacuna Coil Black Anima 2019 release, obviously from the Italian metal band. They would consider themselves as goth metal band when they first started. This album we'll have to get into a little bit later. But they are from Milan, Danny, which is very exciting. We just saw Inter Milan lose a surely win this morning against Borussia Dortmund, but enough about the football. Yeah, what do you think, Danny, about, what do you know even about this Lacuna Coil band? What is it about these guys that have been on your radar?
Yeah, not much. They've been around for a while now. I mean,
yep, they sure are.
Then their start for me was a bit too soft and a bit too melodic, and I wasn't too interested in the sound.
Well, in 1994 was when it all began. They actually had two names before. One was known as Sleep of Right, and the other one was Ethereal. I'm glad they went with the Lacuna Coil. They did start, In the Reverie was one of their first albums, I think, if not the first one that I own, and from the band itself. It was goth metal. It was much more melancholic in nature, a bit more slower. Definitely didn't have the down-tree guitars at all, but there was an appeal to it. And I guess the biggest appeal was the dichotomy between the singing as well, Danny. As you know, Christina Scabia being one of your favourites as well.
Yeah, and the bloke, I wasn't really happy with his tone when I heard the earliest albums. I think that might have detracted me a bit. Yeah,
Andrea Ferrer, he's always a polarizing figure. He's got a certain style, whereas I think Christina Scabia is much more easy to get into. Some people have noted that as well with Andrea, but it's definitely one of the things that they remember from the bands, and not only does she sound good, she's not too bad in the eyes either there, Danny.
Yeah, true, but most times you buy a CD, so...
That's right. We wouldn't know that much. We listen to the CD itself in the fullest. This is a ninth one from the band as well. They are veterans at this. They've been doing this for a long, long time. And this one is taking off from the whole Comalize kind of thing and onwards. You know, this band here has now gotten themselves in the new metal market, you could almost argue as well. And this album is definitely not running too far away from that. So straight from the bat, let's get into this album, Danny. It starts off with Anima Nera. It is quite an interesting, brooding composition track with Christina doing some interesting chanty-like vocals to get into it. Yeah. It worked okay, nothing to worry about. And then from track 2 to track 8, we've got ourselves a Gojira/Slipknot album. This is not a goth metal album for this point of it. It's incredibly tough and heavy. The songs are generally your more straightforward, you know, pop metal vibe, but the riffs themselves definitely lend themselves more towards some of the hottest things, which makes me think that Century Media had a little bit of persuasion in this record. You know, they are signed to Century Media, they are a big label, and this does not feel so much like the Lacuna Coil I knew. However, I am assured that this is where they're heading now.
Yeah, so the first track is the classic track for this year. Everybody does some sort of intro track. I don't get it. I mean, this one here, at least this one fits the tone. It's like sad and eerie and mysterious, which kind of goes...
depressing knowing that you're going to listen to 58 minutes of that, which is the album itself. It's almost an hour long, so that is a sad...
That's not including the bonus tracks. There's like 3 more bonus tracks, which bumps it in the hour mark.
We got plenty of bang for our buck. You know, when most of these people are just stealing it online or downloading it, to have 15 tracks is a lot to ask for a list. Well, this is 14 plus set 3 would be 17. Yeah. But going into this track 2, Daniel, Sword of Anger, as emo as it gets, it does sound something from Baldur's Gate. But this is a goth metal band, Danny.
Yeah, true, but I still would think this is a new metal-y sound through the verse. You got that whole like big bass, predominant bass line, and the little groove in there chucked in. But I reckon it gets a bit mellow-deathy as well. And I reckon it's been mellow-deathy throughout this album. Not massive amounts, but 1 or 2 songs.
I would say like Save Me is the antithesis of the melodic death metal vibe that's like those bands. But I think with that track in particular, you might as well listen to Mercenary or In Flames or Dark Tranquility, because that song's pretty weak. But I gotta be honest, Danny. No, I would argue from track 2 to track 7 in particularly, this really has those guitar riffs being the central point of the thing, where the ambience and all that is gone just for heaviness and catchiness. I think people will generally like the track Layers of Time, which has the film clip, which we reviewed. I think that's the standout track from this first half of the album. But overall, Danny, it does feel a little bit better than the Slipknot album that we reviewed, but for me, not too much more than that.
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah. It's and I think it's the only biggest problem I had is what they've done with Christina's voice on this. I found that there's an effects on a production on this that actually makes it hard to listen to. It feels like there's a key or like a keyboard doing this note underneath it the whole time that's emulating it. And it's just, I don't know. I had a really hard time adjusting to it because she is such a phenomenal singer. And I'm knowing from the early albums I've heard, it's pure Christina, you know?
Yeah.
And this year, it just smells like overproduction, you know? Everything here is crossed to a... You know, the T's are crossed so finely that they shine through the CD and the I's are dotted so easily that you're thinking, targeted by Agent 47. I don't know. I found that with her voice particularly, though, it was quite hard to really get into because it was so prominent that her voice had a lot of work done to it, which she never really needed.
Yeah, but that's true, right? And I think it's a way they're trying to match the album because the album it has a lot of like electronic effects and synth chucked in there.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if they're trying to replicate some sort of create some sort of like I don't know cybernetic or some sort of mysterious or electronic tone like separating people. I'm not sure what the whole lyrical content or the content theme of the album was, but that's the only reason you could say why they did it. Otherwise, it doesn't. You're right. It was a bit.
Nothing from the artwork there really eludes itself. And generally, when you get artwork for a CD, you're led towards something being, you know, a sort of setup for it. Like with Sky Symmetry, with the holographic universe, it's kind of like, you know, sci-fi looking. And in the actual CD, you get a lot of those throwbacks to the 80s, you know, synth works and stuff like that, and that kind of thing. Even when you listen to death metal, you see a very disgusting, visceral front cover, and that's what you hear. That front cover leads me to believe this is going to be more of a goth style, which really, really isn't, you know?
Yeah, that's
so
true.
When I heard that voice, and there is a lot of synth work, you know, that's in there, but again, it's a tale of two halves, where the front half of it is very much working towards those Gojira metalcore riffs, and then the second half, I really felt at times they were throwing back to the old style, but embellishing it. My favorite track off the album, The Ends Is All I Can See, was fantastic. There's a lot of charisma coming through it. And Christina, albeit with the bad production, does sound more like herself. It's a broody track with very interesting chord progressions, which I believe that's what was one of the things that Lacuna Coil deserves a lot of notice for. An excellent drumming as well to help push along those songs that might sound typical, but they're really not, you know? It's very unusual. It was ironic that was the riskiest track off this album, which was something that was enveloping the lore more of Lacuna Coil, where it really felt like the first half was, and maybe that is being over analytical to it, but I did feel the first half of the album was very dominated by the label, you know. So make sure you write these tracks, and that may be why I'm listening through that perspective was distorting what should have been my enjoyment of the album.
Yeah, but maybe the label might influence. It doesn't mean they're bad songs. It just means
no, they're not bad, but they're not doing anything for me either. You know, again, because the misstep choices with Christina's voice and the guitar lines and that, and the drumming's fine, but it really feels odd hearing this on Lacuna Coil. However, I'll have to then acknowledge that every band must move forward and must progress their sounds, and I think that that's something that some bands would regress more, whereas Lacuna Coil have gotten heavier, which I guess would in turn would be an interesting choice, you know. But that's where they are right now. So enough of me talking about. I want you to say why you love the album, or why you at least enjoyed it from the sounds of things.
Yeah, so there's definitely like a ebb and flow to the album. Like I get a bit heavy with tracks 3 and 4, and a little bit 5, and 6 gets a bit melodic. Heavy again. They get a bit operatic in track 8, which is quite nice to see. Maybe a bit of Flesh Goddess creeping in, a bit of a, you know. No,
I think it's just the more goth thing that you could do, more the old school. That's what she was doing back then.
Yeah,
you know, and that's why it's more typical of a Lacuna Coil feel for me as Lacuna Coil once were. Okay. But yeah, because like Christina, her vocal arrangements are fantastic, and I think with Andre, the other guy who sings and stuff like that, he can do a quite job. And now that he's got those growls and that, to add to those really heavy elements, actually work fairly well. He even has those good Gojira chanty French things, you know. It's like the which exists in there as well.
That's whale communication speak.
Yeah, exactly. We hear in like songs like Reckless and stuff like that. So yeah,
I mean, things they did well in this album was they used things like the synth, electric effects well. Guitar tones were sad and mixed it all, matched. They actually, at least they didn't do the standard thing, like they used the growls only on heavy stuff and Christina only on mellow stuff. They actually just mixed and matched it, which was nice. It means it's not just so predictable, which I thought they did well here. Again, very sad and eerie tones throughout the album, a bit haunting at times as well. So there's some sort of theme going on there. Apparently, I heard that. This is reading a YouTube comment, which that must mean gospel. It's a YouTube comment, but they're saying that Christina's lost both her parents recently, and that's why there's a sad reflection in this album, because she's writing because of her experiences.
Well, it makes sense, because obviously with the death, you go through a lot of emotions, and the first half felt like she was angry about it, and the second half she was coming to terms with it for the grief, where it was kind of bleak. She did have a quote, which I'll read out to you to give you insight. This came with the whole naming of the album when it was press release came out with Century Media. Her quote is, "Black Anima is all of us. It's you and it's me. It's everything we hide and fiercely exposed to a world that's halfway asleep. It is the fogged mirror we are peering into and searching for the truth. It's sacrifice and pain. It's justice, it's fear, it's revenge. Fury, it's past and future. Human beings in the magnificence of disturbing ambiguity, the black core that balances it all. As without darkness, light will not exist. We proudly present to you the new work." There's a lot of confusion and a lot of ideas that are smashed together, and I guess English isn't her first language, but for me, there's not really anything you to take away from that sentence in particular.
No, just saying.
A little bit like the album, unfortunately.
Oh,
it's a little convoluted.
Very harsh.
I'm a bit harsh with this one. It's too ambitious for itself. At 58 minutes, man, you could have slashed 6 tracks off this album. It would have been phenomenal. But something about it just felt too much, and that they had to do 3 tracks is for a metal record. It's quite the task, I think. So
that's right. I mean, right. There's a lot of themes they use throughout, a lot of different styles and genres and effects. There could be some tones of songs which kind of are the same type of tone and type of song. So you could probably upgrade with 1 or 2. I still enjoyed more songs I didn't enjoy off this album.
Cool.
I thought track 10, track 11, Black Anima at the end, I thought it was a really well written song, how they build it up and they diminish it and they slow down at the end and dissolve it, which was quite good. I thought they did that quite well. I think they did quite well in quite a few of their songs where they actually build it up and they did a bit of storytelling and layered it at times and go to the bigger choruses, then broke the tension, went back again to the melodic side of it as well. So look, I thought there was actually more good than bad songs in this album.
Sure.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah. So apart from that, look, the guy's voice has improved.
Definitely.
That's I think one reason why, like I said at the start, I wasn't too keen on following them because I wasn't really.
Yeah, he's got more depth not into his arrangements, with delivery. He's obviously taking a lot of that's coming out now with the those other styles of bands that are obviously very popular, and he's incorporating that to his own ability. And these guys are very talented musicians, probably some of the best you're going to hear in this genre, almost in the metal industry. The guitar solos now are just through the roof as well, very technical, but very clean and very crisp, Again, like you said, with Flesh God Apocalypse, the attention to detail and the passion that goes into the work can't be denied. It's just some of the things that I had a problem with Danny at all. So I guess before we close it off, what are your final thoughts on the album?
No, I thought I enjoyed it. I thought, there's decent songs. They implemented different instrumentation well. Like there's one part, I think on track 10 or something, when there's coming to a crescendo, they use just a single piano note to create the pulse and then start off again. So they all these little clever things. Again, her tone matches the electric effects. They use a bit of white noise at times, use double kick at times to make it a bit more heavier. So I thought they were doing well in the songs to mix and match it to make it sound a bit more dynamic. Again, you're right, there's some tones and sometimes it felt like a bit same. Yeah. Well, 11 tracks, each song's 5.5 minutes. You're going to get a bit of repetition, which means that you shouldn't do it. Yeah. You should cut it out. That's fair enough. Yeah. But I thought there's a couple of really good songs in here, which I'll probably listen to again.
Yep, sure.
Which makes it worthwhile. And I thought that, you're right, but the effects in her voice were quite jarring, especially when she gets really high. Yeah. Then it becomes very nasally sounding and very whiny. And that was that was jarring, which I thought, I don't know if it was needed. I
think that it wasn't so much the band's fault here. I do feel like something in the label or the direction of the sound producers or whatever has affected this record. I think a lot of people, though, are generally vibing on it, and I think it does a lot that is very familiar to a lot of people out there, from the Genty Stars to Beyond the Martyrs kind of thing, with all those kind of breakdowny stuff like that, to your Gojira's, to your Slipknots and etc. These guys have... There used to be a lot about that innovation when they not only came in with that whole goth vibe with the dichotomy of the chick singer and the guy singer. Here, I feel like at times they played a little too safe and fly a little too close to the sun being the whole what is popular right now. And I do feel at times they did pull away from that towards the second third of this album, from I'm saying track onwards. By then, I did kind of lose interest with the album. It made it a little bit hard for me to get into it, and by the end, I actually kind of tapped out. And by 13 and 14, I wasn't really enjoying it at all and really kind of counting down the minutes. But apart from that, I got to say I honestly am a fan of Lacuna Coil, and I guess I am more of the trademark, so the old school style more so. And this wasn't the album for me with Lacuna Coil, but I am on a boat this one. I feel like that this is generally being received pretty positively.
Yeah, well, I gave it a 7.
I'll give this one a 5. It's definitely, and probably could get like a 4 to a 5 in there. I think it's better than the Slipknot album though. But it just a little too thinly spread, a little too disjointed, and there were some really bad missteps as far as what I've done with Christina here. And I think that there was a real shame, because she is one of the highlights in all of them, not only just this band but for metal itself. She's a really good card, and she just doesn't need to be touched. Just let her go and let her do her thing. She can obviously do the arrangements and stuff, and to hear that they were tainted a little bit was actually, maybe that's what pissed me off. I don't know, that was enough to set me off, and like, nah, just that alone was kind of like, it's just something you just never do in metal, so but maybe it's another argument for maybe metal producers going too far.
It could be it,
and that's probably what's happening right now. But yeah,
well,
Lacuna Coil, Black Anima.
And in the words of Lacuna Coil, Black Anima, tonight it's coming down to hell with all the innocence. The signs all around, and I've wasted too much time.
Thanks, guys, for checking us out this week. If you want to leave your thoughts and comments, leave them below, and we'll check them out for sure. And if you want us to review another album that's come out this year, or a retro review, or something that's come out in the past, let us know. We're definitely keen for doing that. In the meantime, though, I am Super Metal Brother Matt.
And I'm Super Metal Brother Dane.
We have been the Super Metal Brothers. Thank you guys so much for checking this episode out, and we'll catch you at the next one.